Well, hi again. This is Brian Knight from Pragmatic Works, and today I'm here with Mac, our company mascot, as well as Jason Strate, a SQL Server MVP and a database architect for Pragmatic Works. And Jason, one of the great new features in 2012 is something called availability groups. It's something that you and I have been kind of exploring recently.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so tell us what these are all about.
Yeah, availability groups is really it's the next generation of what database mirroring becomes. Database mirroring, we really liked it because it got your platform from A to B, and you were able to just synchronize the two up together. The trouble is that you could only do A and B.
So A and B in this case would be like moving data from Wisconsin to Jacksonville, perhaps. Where I have a secondary location I can fail over to, but there's some things that we're missing there, which we'll talk about the whiteboard in a moment, that would be really, really nice to have.
Yeah, and that was the big thing. And with availability groups, it really just opens it up. So you can have A, B, C, D, and E.
And where all those letters are different locations potentially.
Absolutely.
And also, it's definitely taking the best parts of mirroring, this basic clustering, as far as the groups and all that, the names and all that, and brings them together. So let's go to the whiteboard and kind of diagram what this looks like for our DBAs out there.
Yep, let's do that.
All right, cool. So Jason, what we've got right now is I drew up here a scenario for our own company.
Yep.
Well, imagine your company.
Yeah.
We have a data center in Miami where no disaster ever happens. Never, especially in summertime.
Yep.
And we've got our production server,
yep.
and I want to make sure that production server 1 goes down. He were to fail over to production 2. So what is the best technology for same data center kind of
for same data center for high availability in this regards? Prior to SQL Server 2012, we'd be looking at doing failover clustering. And that's typical, fairly typical of what people are going to be doing.
That's like instance level. I want to move this instance from here to here.
Right. The whole instance fails over. Everything just kind of works. The only thing that is the single point of failure for all of this together is going to be your file system.
Okay. And so we have a back-end SAN somewhere over here, or some kind of storage array in the back-end. That's kind of everything's being pointing to.
And it's all shared.
Oh, gotcha. Now, nice. The pro of this is it's very simple, instance level. The con of this is production 2 is basically in this kind of configuration.
Yep.
It's sitting there just waiting for something to happen.
Right.
Now we can also make this active as well. The database is on there, but that's somebody's going to be sitting there.
Right. There's some level of resources that are just going to be there.
Yeah.
And unavailable.
So now we move some data over. I want to now move because of some problems in Miami.
Right.
I want to make sure the data gets where no disaster ever happens, and that's in San Francisco.
Right.
So how do we get data from this production 01 server to my DR server, my disaster recovery server over here?
There's a couple ways to do it. And talking back in the 2008 range, we would use things like replication or log shipping,
or something like that to get there.
Yeah. And we might use like database mirroring even.
Okay, now mirroring is probably the most common one we saw people DBAs use.
It is. And the problem with that is you've got kind of a disjointed system now because you've got failover clustering here, you've got mirroring here. It's a little bit more complex.
And the challenge I had with mirroring always was, okay, I'm this report user right here.
Yep.
Well, first of all, the server's dead. It's not doing anything for me really.
Yeah. 2 servers that are not available for you.
My application had changed slightly also. I had to put a failover partner equals my connection string.
Right.
So my connection strings had changed to where I say, okay, I try to query this server, it's not available, let me move over to here. So some things like that were odd. And this server has a read-only not even read-only, it's completely blocked unless I do a snapshot of it, right?
Right. And that's kind of the problem.
Okay. So it was a mirroring problem.
Yep.
So what was the solution behind that mirroring problem?
The solution that came up with SQL Server 2012 is basically availability groups, and it's database mirroring on a little bit of speed.
Okay, so the construct is still the same. Say the guts are basically mirroring, so it's a pretty solid footing at least.
Yep, it's tied into mirroring and it's tied into clustering. So it's kind of a blend between all of them back into each other.
Tell me about the clustering part. Why do I need clustering for this?
The reason why you need clustering is because it's got the automatic failover pieces, and it's going to use the quorum and the basically the clustering voting system.
Right.
Choose where you're going to.
Are you still alive? Are you still alive?
Right.
The nice thing I like about it also is my user now can have a virtual IP address, right? So this would be the virtual IP address that can send me either here or here based on who's alive. So it knows this guy is dead, and it automatically routes me. So my application is not going to change at all. It points to the virtual IP address, and everything just magically, as far as I'm concerned, happens.
Yep.
What are some other benefits then?
Some other benefits are along the lines of maintenance and along with read-only access.
Read-only access, do tell.
Yeah. So with read-only access, what you can do is, so we're doing reads and writes on these two connections.
Okay.
Well, if we know that a connection is only ever going to read, we can say, hey, use this other connection. And we can tell this other connection to go to maybe, if it's a read-only connection, go to this other server so we can offload some of the reads to another server. Now, you're not going to want to do this with every single read. Because if you write something up here and expect it to be here within...
Seconds later, yeah. It may not happen.
Right.
But maybe for reports.
For reports, or if you're populating lists like state lists and any of your product catalogs, things that are changing a lot,
That's
I
pretty
go
cool.
to your transactional, high transactional portion of it where you're doing lots of modifications. Why not go someplace where you know it's going to be the same?
And the cool thing about this is it's all configured through Management Studio. Very, very easy configuration. It's 10 minutes and you're done almost.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, a little more 10 minutes, but it's not, the act of it is 10 minutes. The all getting to that point is a little longer.
Right.
And it uses commodity hardware because I have basically 2 copies in my database now, so it's not using that storage array anymore, the shared storage anymore.
Right. Yeah, and we can, if I pull this out, we can, what actually is going on is we pull the SAN out, we can use local storage, or we can still use SAN storage.
Right.
But we have some sort of storage for each of the servers.
I'll draw one up here. Yeah.
Yep. And they're all together part of an availability group.
Nice. And another big key I thought was that thing about mirroring is database by database.
Right.
And then availability groups does what around that? So.
It basically pulls it's still database by database, so there's some work that you have to do around that as far as like SQL jobs and stuff like that. But the complexity of having to manage between clustering and having to manage between database mirroring all kind of falls away. Your application just knows where it's going to be.
And you can group databases together, and it's also, if you can fail the group over as a unit of work, which most applications don't have just one database, they've got 5 databases.
Right. For example, SharePoint.
Yes, exactly. 13 databases or 100 databases, whatever it is.
Yeah, the custom software that we needed before to move all that stuff around and make it still work, we don't need all that work.
Right.
It just goes together.
And the other thing is nice is it's all PowerShell driven. If you're a PowerShell junkie, like I know a lot of you guys are in the audience, and it works with the flexible failover policy. So you can say not only the server down, but maybe this kind of weird behaviors happening. I should fail over now because of
absolutely. And you can also set things up like between production 1 and 2, it's automatic failover, and between prod and DR, it is manual. And you can get those lines in there. You can bring in up to 4 additional secondaries or replicas, and so you can have another one out here that maybe you're doing for that things come across, and maybe you do some full backups off of this.
Oh, so yes, you run backups off this thing because it's read only. You can actually do a lot more than just read. You can.
Yeah, there's some catches because the differential map doesn't copy around, so it has some
full
catches.
backups in many cases. Yeah.
But the full backups work perfectly off of there. And it's a good way to pull it off, and maybe pull a full backup off, and then do checkDB against it. Restore the backup to do your checkDB. Yeah, all those little things that were kind of a pain to do all on one server.
On a big terabyte system, yeah.
We can move them around.
So the cool thing about that also is you can prioritize all of this, right? So you can say, well, if this guy's not available, then let's this next guy in the queue for the backups to happen on. And same thing with read writes. You can say, I want my reads to be focused here first. If it's not available, let's focus on here. So all those policies are all through either T-SQL or in many cases the UI as well.
Yep, and you tie all this stuff in. It gives you interesting ways that you can start working with your applications to make them scale better.
Perfect. Well, Jason, anything else you want to share with us today?
That's about it. I mean, it's basically an always available system, so you don't have to do database snapshots up here to be able to read it. It's just there and available. You don't have to have all this extra complexity. It simplifies everything back down.
Well, very cool. Well, this is one of the types of services offering that we do at Pragmaticworks. This is availability groups that fall under our disaster recovery or a high availability kind of offering. So if you have any questions, please go to pragmaticworks.com. Or if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them on our blog that you're on right now. Thanks so much. And Jason, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks.